This is Off Track.
Guys, hello and welcome to another episode of Off Track with Hinch and or Rossi. This is an or Rossi episode. It's a special Tuesday episode, and it's special because I'm employed. And I can finally say it. I've got a job with Fox for the IndyCar season. Very exciting. We have two guests on today who, if you've kept up with the news on the news cycle this morning, also have jobs for next year with me with Fox. I welcome Townsend to the program, Will Buxton back to the program, but more importantly, to IndyCar for the foreseeable future and for the kind of first time in a full-time capacity. So, Will, let's start with you. What a huge transition for you, coming across the pond now, going to be doing play-by-play for Fox on the IndyCar broadcast. Just kind of talk us through the thoughts and feelings of this new opportunity.
First, I'd like to thank Alexander Rossi for turning up to the show tonight.
He's a part-timer on this podcast anyway.
Warmly appreciated. Mate, I'm blown away. I'm humbled by the opportunity. Massively excited. You guys know I'm a huge IndyCar fan. I have been my whole life, and I always kind of hoped that at some point in my career there would be an opportunity, some sort of sliding doors moment where I was able to come over and cover the championship full time. I never really foresaw when that might happen or if that might happen. So to have the opportunity to do that, to return to the Fox family exactly 15 years after they gave me my very first opportunity on network television, it's magic. I'm so excited, and you know how excited I am about it, man. Love the championship. It's a tremendously exciting period for the NTT IndyCar Series. For Fox, for all of us. I can't wait to get started.
No, for sure. I think it's everyone's been eagerly anticipating some kind of news. I know the three of us were eagerly anticipating getting everything done. T-Bell, you and I get to go at it again for the foreseeable future in the booth. Talk to me a little bit about you've been doing this a little bit longer than I have. The transition from one network to another. We've joked a bit about how this has come together seemingly on the late side, but these conversations have been ongoing for a long time. When there is a transition like that, are you nervous when you first hear, NBC's losing the rights, someone else is getting them, doesn't matter who it is? How nervous are you in that position?
Well, I guess not that nervous, simply because I think as you get older, and trust me, this week's been a great reminder of that. There's a lot of things you just can't control. And I think the older I get, the more I am at ease with setting my sails wherever the wind's blowing and just kind of rolling with it. So I don't think particularly nervous per se. I've had this job for 13 years with NBC, which has been incredible. It's a career I never saw coming. I never could have imagined. Like Will, I got my first U.S. television opportunity with Fox, with Speed Channel, doing Formula One, filling in for David Hobbs as an analyst, way back when. I think that was like 2004, something crazy like that. So, it's crazy to think I've been doing it a while, but, the TV business, James, as you've learned, is very fickle. And, the decisions about who does what and the talent and pit lane reporters and things like that. I mean, there's really not a lot of, or any quantitative data that we can all point to. It's a very subjective thing. And I think one of the cool things about the relationship you and I have, James, is that for whatever reason, it just kind of works. We have fun. We like to argue. We can get along just fine. We can certainly debate just fine. But it's been a great chemistry, and it's nice to know at least you and I will get a chance to continue that. And then welcoming Will into the fold, I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. He brings, such a fresh perspective to things and a curiosity. And I know Will's already shared a lot of really, sort of out of the box ideas and enthusiasm for questioning why things are done the way they are. And I think we're just going to have a blast exploring this new network situation together. And if that Joseph Newgarden, Tom Brady, Fox NFL debut commercial is any indication, we're going to be really in great hands with our new friends at Fox on the network. They appear to be really enthusiastic about doing a great job and launching this thing the right way. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I mean, that commercial has taken the internet by storm a little bit. I think that was very well done. And yes, I mean, you alluded to it, T-Bell, but I just want to say, obviously thoughts with you and everybody out in California. I know you've endured a tough week. Don't need to rehash it here. I know you've probably told that story 100 times already, and it's only gonna keep getting told. But thinking of you guys for sure. Will, you've been a fan of motor racing your whole life. We've heard your story on how you kind of got into the sport and how you got into the F1 side of things. But when you are now faced with the task of leading a broadcast for a championship that, though you've been a fan of and followed, hasn't been your kind of daily, occupation for the last 20 years. I mean, what's the magnitude of work required and prep required before we get to St. Pete?
I've got 6 weeks to learn 100+ years of history.
I've heard that you said, or you asked for the rule book from one of the. You'd be the first one to read it, so let us know what it says in there.
Yeah, I want to be totally prepped, or as prepped as I could be. And listen, I'm under no illusions. I'm never going to know everything, but the same was true about Formula One. I never knew everything about Formula One. My job was to elicit stories and really to ask people like you as a driver, and like Townsend as a driver, to ask those with the knowledge, to impart their knowledge, to impart their stories, to give that understanding. I very much see my role, whatever it's been over the last 23 years of my career. I'm a conduit. I ask the questions that the folks at home want to know the answers to. For me, with IndyCar, I know at the start, a lot of those questions aren't just going to be asking the questions that I know the answers to. They're going to be asking the questions that I need to know the answers to as well. I'm not in any way going to shy away from the fact that I have a huge amount of work to do. I have a huge amount of knowledge to accrue. But that's something I'm tremendously excited about. I do love the series. I love the championship inside and out. I think it's the greatest racing and the fastest racing. We know it's the fastest racing, on Earth. And I just can't wait to be able to tell the stories of these incredible teams, these incredible drivers, and to give people an insight into what they do and why they do it. And to really bring that across, it's a tremendous responsibility. Not just in telling the story, but I know there is a massive fan base that is so incredibly loyal to IndyCar, and I want to do them justice. But I want to bring in new fans that I think will love this championship and will love this sport. And I'm absolutely convinced that you get somebody to tune into an IndyCar race once, and you've got them hooked for life, because it is the most incredible racing that I've ever seen. So I can't wait to bring that to them with you guys. I'm going to be leaning on you guys a lot to fill in the blanks for me. But I genuinely can't wait to get started. But, one thing's for sure, over the next 6 weeks, I think my 18-month-old daughter will probably learn as much about IndyCar as I do as well, because it will be the only thing that is on in my house. The cartoons are definitely getting sidelined.
Be a Bluey and Blippy and Peppa Pig are all on hold for a little bit.
Yeah, mate, that's
a bit of a hiatus.
Paddington Bear is taking a hiatus. It will be the NTT IndyCar Series from here on in for the next 6 weeks.
So just to be clear, is this how I found out I didn't get the job in the booth?
Yes, this is officially how you have found out, Tim. So you remain the only unemployed person on the podcast. But good luck with that, man. I hope it works out for you.
I mean, hey, I could get lucky. Alex could have a really bad season.
So, T-Bell, I think when you look back at the last 3 years of us working together, we've had a lot of conversations about the sport and how we portray it, through the broadcast. with a new broadcaster coming in, and this is a legitimate question. Like, this is not a conversation that we've necessarily been privy to. We're not letting the cat out of the bag on anything, and we might be asking for things that are unrealistic. But for you, T-Bell, what's like the top of your wish list when you look at how we've done broadcast, how IndyCar has been broadcast in the past? You've got not a complete clean slate, but you've got a new partner. You've got someone that's highly motivated and enthused to make this better and grow this thing. What's like the number one thing on your wish list that you want to make sure makes it into the broadcast or part of how we tell the story of going IndyCar racing?
Great question. We've talked about so many ideas over the last few years, but for me, when I think about the total experience from, really the time the broadcast launches and what we do to the finish, to me, it's the tail end of the show has the greatest opportunity. And by that, I mean after the checker. What happens from when the checker flies to when we go off air? How do we raise it's not the perception, the true sort of moment of success for the winner of the race? And specifically, I'm talking about what does victory lane look like? That celebration. How do we open up or release the driver and the team and the fans to enjoy and rejoice the achievement on that day? Because let's face it, winning an IndyCar race is a massive accomplishment on any day, in any environment. It's that competitive. Yeah. It's a very hard thing to do. And I would love to see that part of the show get the kind of juice and amplification and creative intelligence. And it's not just network. This is not a shot fired at NBC at all. It's the collective. It's what is the league? What are the teams? What does the community do in that moment? I think that's our single biggest opportunity to elevate the show that I can see. There's a whole bunch of other things, but that one certainly jumps out to me.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot on the show about the podiums and like having an elevated level of podium, some consistency in the podium, the physical podium, as well as the kind of podium procedure and celebrations. That's one thing that F1 does really well, Will, is there seems to be a very high standard and a very sort of clear box in which different tracks and promoters have to operate for things like that. But if you look at, watching IndyCar from afar, regardless of any experience in F1, just as somebody who has watched the races, what is something that you think the IndyCar series can learn from how F1 goes about broadcasting the show?
So I was really lucky. I joined Liberty right at the start of their takeover of Formula One. So I was right at the heart of the way in which they really sort of dragged Formula One almost kicking and screaming into the 21st century. And there were a lot of people that didn't fully buy into it right at the start. And this goes far beyond the notion of the Netflix and the Drive to Survive and all of that, because we started a push into digital media way before Drive to Survive was a thing. And I think that is an area where IndyCar and Fox in particular, I think that's where we can do something really, really special to start to bring it to eyeballs, start to bring it to fans who maybe aren't watching it at the moment, who maybe have been enlivened and who have been brought into open wheel racing through the rise of Formula One in the United States. And I think we can play on that. And I think that we can bring them in. There is no reason for me why IndyCar shouldn't be the most popular form of motorsport in the United States, because for me, it's the most exciting form of motor racing on earth. There is no championship on earth that has racing at this level, that has competitiveness at this level, where you can turn up every weekend and you genuinely do not know when you roll to green who is going to pass that checkered flag first. And that's one of, I think, the strongest suits of the series is its unpredictability.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's a hard point to argue. How much do you think, seeing how Formula One grew, in the kind of quote unquote Drive to Survive era, and how much of the fandom seem to come from a connection to a specific driver. You know, when you look at kind of how that sport's grown, how much do you think? Because IndyCar does have a great product, but it kind of has the feeling like too many of the fans don't know enough of the personalities and the drivers behind it. I mean, how big is that element, do you think?
I think it's huge. I think it's part of the reason that Drive to Survive was as successful as it was because it didn't necessarily tell the championship story. It told the personal stories. And that connected at a time when a lot of us weren't getting personal connection because, COVID hit and we weren't getting out, we weren't seeing friends and all of that. It was a very sort of fortuitous set of circumstances that led to the rise of it. But I'm a firm believer that, the rising tide lifts all ships, and that the rise in popularity of motorsport as a sport globally can only be a good thing for IndyCar. Telling stories is what it's all about. Getting people to care is what it's all about. So the personal stories of the drivers, their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, where they come from, their highs, their lows, those are the stories that I want to tell, and I want us to tell, and I want us to engage the fan base with, so that they, when we roll to green every Sunday, they have somebody or a couple of people within that field that they genuinely care about, that they genuinely want to see do well. And what IndyCar does really well is it has heroes and villains, and the drivers don't mind playing up to those roles as much as, maybe some guys in F1, they don't want to be seen as the villain because their marketability is based or predicated on something different. So I love the fact that the guys lean into that, and that's something that we can play on, something that we can really maximize and bring to people, are these incredible personalities. Because you guys, Hinch, yourself, Townsend, you guys are my heroes. Racing drivers do this thing that I wish I could do and have always wished I could do, and I will never tire of telling the stories of people that I genuinely stellify as being incredible athletes and incredible proponents of this thing that we all love, which is motorsport. And that's what it is, man. It's storytelling, and it's picking people up off the couch and bringing them into the paddock with you, and bringing them to the track and bringing them through the gates and saying, this is really cool. Come and look at this. Oh, and here's my mate. He drives for whoever, come and meet them, come and learn about them, come into this world and be a part of it, because we want to bring you along for this incredible journey and have you be right in the middle of it where we are. That's what this is all about.
Yeah. And T-Bell, I mean, he brings up the rivalry standpoint of it. And, you and I have had a lot of discussions about what's the most kind of attractive thing about IndyCar and what does it need to be. And we agree that the speeds need to be high. The cars need to be loud and look fast and look cool. But, the personality side of it is big. We've got, everything from Newgarden to Ferrucci, from Pato to Palou. We have these incredible personalities. And are you on board with the philosophy of kind of making these drivers the stars? And, the car is what the car is. That's nothing that the three of us can control. But if we have any, creative license or editorial influence on the stories of the drivers, I mean, do you think that helps get people interested?
For sure. I think human interest is to Will's point. That's what watching sport is all about. Beyond the number, the score, the result is the story of the character. But let's make sure that we don't convince ourselves that is the only path to growth. Because as you know, James, I have believed ever since I was an 11-year-old and came to this town, Indianapolis, from California to watch my first Indy 500 in person, I know in my core that the core of this sport for 100 years, 90 years, was built on the back of incredible performance, mind-bending performance of the car. And the heroes, Jimmy Clark, AJ Foyt, Rick Mears, Mario Andretti, Dan Gurney, the heroes were heroes because of what they did, what they climbed into, the challenge that they took on, the frontiers that they were willing to explore. And we have to remember that that is the foundation of IndyCar racing, is outrageous performance of one car and then the spectacle of 33 lining up 11 deep, 3 wide to send it. And that's the foundation of the sport. So I don't think my only concern is absolutely I love it. Do I love the New Garden commercial? Great. I want sponsors to promote. I want the drivers to be heroes. I want all these personalities to flourish, of course. And we're going to tell those stories. But I don't think you can just rely on that. And to your point, we have no control over what the car is and what the future of that is. We can beat our drums as loud as we want. We will continue to do that. It's an expensive and complicated problem to advance. But I just hope that we remember that is the foundation, the rock that in the height of this great sport, oftentimes first and third place were separated by 2 laps. It wasn't about wheel to wheel racing all the time. Occasionally you would get these magic moments, but the mind bending performance of the car is essential. And, I just want to make sure that I never, I don't give up on shouting that as loud as I can.
Well, look, I mean, we're being teased with the new car coming out in 2027, and hopefully that's going to check some of those boxes. You know, we've had closest fields, fastest front row, fastest pole time in the last few years. So I definitely feel like the sport is still, you know, scratching that side of it and still pushing those boundaries. Maybe an element of the danger from the glory days is gone. Not that this will ever be a safe sport, and it's always still incredibly risky, but, you know, simply surviving
Especially
a 500.
when you forget to turn left.
Yeah, when you forget to turn like I did, it makes it a little harder. I do encourage all 33 drivers in the 500 this year to turn left almost as often as possible. I mean, it's pretty, it's frequently
4 times a lap.
Yeah, at least. Right. Yeah.
And just to be clear, James, I'm not advocating for danger. I'm advocating for outrageous performance that is as safe as possible, but you will never have safe. And that's the key. So I want a beast. But yeah, we're on all of our fronts. We are kicking ass right now. Roger Penske has brought stability to the sport. The teams are healthier than they've ever been. I've never seen the health in the team line up like we have today with ownerships and sponsors. We have stability and repeatability with the schedule. There's consistency across the board. The new TV partnership, I think, is clearly, you know, a big win for the series. So we want to be greedy though and keep looking for what's next. What else can we move the needle on? So it's an exciting time.
It is exciting time.
I think we got to focus on the important thing. Have you guys practiced your woes?
Whoa!
Can we get like just like
whoa,
one group?
Tim. Whoa, Tim. Calm down.
I mean, Townsend, that you phoned that one in. I've heard you do a pretty solid whoa.
I can't fake it. I can't fake it, Tim. It's got to come from genuine inspiration. I promise you, if the first big whoa happens at Thermal or Long Beach, Buxton's going to be thinking there's an earthquake breaking out somewhere. He's going to freak out because
Buxton,
they're over the top
your
sometimes.
Down?
See, I don't know. Is the woe not intellectual property of your past employer? Something new, you know.
This is the thing, though. People like to give a shit about the woe. It is a genuine reaction. If you're in the middle of a sentence when you see an IndyCar fly into the wall at 200 miles an hour, it is just human nature to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I challenge anyone that criticizes the woe to call a race and try to not woe. Before we let you guys go, I know there's a question that you're going to get a lot, Will, and so let's get it out there for people to kind of wrap their head around. You're known as the journalist first, then the TV host. You've done some pit lane stuff. Play-by-play is for a lot of people a new role to you, but it's not completely new. What's your experience in that sort of position?
So I actually started my TV career in play-by-play. The very first thing I ever did on TV was as a commentator for GP2, which is now known as F2, and GP3, which is now known as F3. And I did that for almost a decade, and that's what brought me to the attention of Speed Channel, which led to my first workout here in the States, and then led to work at NBC, and where we are today. I haven't done it full time in a decade, and I can't pretend that I have. But you know what? Around the time I was first commentating, I had my first child, and I had my second child 18 months ago. And I got to tell you, I was terrified about doing diapers again. But it went okay. Some things when you love something that much, it kind of comes naturally. Did I just compare sharing a booth to changing diapers with you and T-Bell a little bit?
No, I saw it more as sharing it with the love of a child. That's
rather than you guys yourselves. Yeah.
No, that's
right.
not, yeah, no, I saw it more as that.
Yeah. Well, no one asked you, Tim.
Okay.
No one's ever asked you anything.
Listen, I love.
He will himself in the booth.
Yeah.
James
Yes.
will. It's like a dominance thing.
I've shared a booth with him before.
Yeah, I feel like the last time you did play-by-play was with me in Mexico.
It was
last year, 2 years ago.
And I love it. There is no greater thrill. There is no greater drug in broadcasting than play-by-play. It is never perfect, ever. And it is that intensity of being in the moment and calling things as they happen. There is no greater honor. There is no greater joy. There is no greater thrill than play-by-play. My happiest times in my career, and I mean this genuinely, the time at which I felt the most myself and the happiest in anything I've ever done were those years where I was doing play-by-play. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to do it again, and to get to do it for a championship that I love and that I want to see grow into being the most popular, the most watched form of motor racing in America is, guys, it's a dream come true. I'm so bloody excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, man. It's exciting to get to do it. T-Bell, it's exciting to get to go back at it with you. Will, welcome to the series. Welcome to America, I guess, as they say. And I know that the fan reaction from some of the rumors that have been going around the last week has been overwhelmingly positive, and it's been great to see. I've obviously had the pleasure of getting to work alongside you on the F1 stuff. It's not going to be a thrill to get to do it with you and Townsend and IndyCar. So, boys, it starts now. It starts tomorrow for us, IndyCar Media Day. Well, I guess today, if you're listening, we're first official day of work. So the season has officially started. And I can't wait to share the rest of 2025 with you both. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks for coming on the show. And let's go make some TV magic, boys.
Let's do it.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.